I think we'll get started. We'll get started with some news here. So, for those of you guys that are watching on YouTube, we're doing this live on Twitch. We'll start this every morning about 10 o'clock. I'm late this morning because I was trying to get things going, but 10 a.m. on Twitch, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So, what is that? Noon Eastern. We'll do this every morning. We'll go through and talk about whatever's going on in the news, the world of Tarkov. We'll do a little bit of economy recap, and we'll do some hideout stuff. So with that being said, let's turn the music down a little and jump right into the news. A little bit of music just for background. I think that'll work. All right. So first things up, Battle State being Battle State is really good about, putting things on Twitter. So the event, which if those of you didn't know, they had an event last weekend, went on through a few days. Reshala was spawning on Shoreline with good old Sanitar, 100% spawn right at the resort. That is now over with. There's no longer the event. It's done. It sounds like it was a lot of fun for most people. Everybody enjoyed it. It screwed with the economy in a couple of ways. We had things like SJ6s going through the roof and all that kind of stuff. So it's over with. We'll just have to look forward to the next one. This is how BSG usually announces them, though. They throw them up on Twitter and go from there. This morning, Battle State tweeted as well. Let me find the tweet here real quick. Merch. They've got merch open. Let me open up that. So they've added a bunch of merch. I've tried to go buy shit, but their website is completely blowed up right now. Good luck getting through and getting things ordered. But they've got like a Killa mug and some other cool stuff in there. If you guys are interested, not advertising for them, just talking about what they've got going on. A couple other things, a little old, because we're playing catch up because this is the first one. They've got a couple of leaked images of a new backpack, some new gear. This is really interesting. Nice Guy did a really good video on it, on what he thinks it is. He thinks it's a scav boss. This is a scav boss that hunts PMCs because of all the trophies they have. The firearm doesn't look particularly special to me. It looks like kind of a cartoonish rendering of a really weird M4 with the sight way forward for some reason. Not totally sure what's going on with this. This is the battle belt that they're talking about, or whatever it was. Battle belt, I think that's the right word. But this is what's going to hold your melee weapon, your compass, eventually like GPS, some of the other stuff they've talked about in the game for quite a while. This will be implemented here. Who knows when? I should probably turn those down. It's whatever. Don't worry about it right now. We can do this. There we go. Now they're turned down. And I think that's it for that tweet. And then the other one is more clothing stuff. Some really hideous optics that are going to be dovetail mount, it looks like. Holographics and stuff. From everything I know, these things really suck. They're not very good. Not very good sights. So we'll have to wait and see. And then this here, I'm not sure. I've heard a lot of rumors on what this, it's just another AK variant. Just another picture of the gun they're going to be bringing in. But it does do wonders to show you how much effort they put into detailing these kinds of guns. Because that looks about as real as it can look and not be real, in my opinion. Some of their pictures they've released in the past, I thought they were actual real pictures. So interesting stuff there. So that's pretty much for the leaks. The next one we got is the 45 ACP, and this comes from Logic. We'll pull up his deal here. So they buffed and changed 45 ACP, well, 45 caliber. I don't want to say across the board, but they've made a bunch of buffs to them, which is pretty cool. This buff on 45 caliber pen, the 45 ACP, the top one, the 36 to 38. 2 pen might not seem a lot, but because of where it's at on how penetration and armor works in Tarkov, this is actually a really, really big deal. This is like a 20% boost, if you will, 20% buff for class 4 armor. By the way I look at it, and it'll do some testing, this means if somebody's got a class 4 on and you hit them with a 3-round burst out of a vector, you'll kill them. This is a 3-hit kill, probably 100% of the time, with a 45, and possibly a 2-hit kill. Probably a 60%, 60% chance for a 2-hit kill with 45 caliber now in the chest. So you can 2-tap people with a pistol wearing class 4 or less, potentially now. Very interesting change. This penetration chance, I think this deserves a lot more penetration chance and penetration power. I think these delve new, more in-depth analysis, because I don't know what they mean. I had suspected there were some additional, what do you want to call it, variables when it comes into calculating everything, just because of how things can change. But this doesn't get taken into account and stuff, and I would love to know how those are effective. But some of the, they buffed it from armor damage from 43 to 48. Hydra Shock went from 95 to 105 in damage. Laser Match went from 74 to 80 in damage. And accuracy is 10 on the Laser Match FMJ. I don't think that's a huge deal, to be honest with you. Rip ammo went from 127 to 137, which is huge. The implications of that have a lot to do with how many bullets it takes. How many bullets it takes to kill people with like leg meta or hitting them in different spots. Accuracy on Rip went down -5, whatever. I don't think that really matters. FMJ damage, 69 to 76. And then you've got penetration power 23 to 25. That stat, I don't know what that means. But these are all courtesy of Logic, our resident data miner. And he gives us lots of good information. That's where I get a lot of my information from for you guys when you ask questions. So don't hesitate to follow him on Twitter, because that's where he does stuff if you're into the whole Twitter sphere thing. He also had another post here that I think deserves a lot of attention, because it's a question. It's an argument. Why is this not loading? We'll look at it right here. Let me see if I can blow it up nice and big for you guys. There we go. Really important to bring this up is they have not changed the loot, guys. Not for quite some time. And this is coming from a guy who literally data mines this shit. If they change, they can't hide it from him or his team or however he comes up with the information. This is about as definitive of an answer as I can ever provide to you guys, other than my own personal experience of not seeing that the loot has really changed. I would agree that the loot sucks in some instances, but that's a product of a couple of things. One, stuff isn't worth as much this wipe as it was worth last wipe, right? Because everything was so overvalued last wipe, all of us have in our head that you would get out a raid with $1 million rubles in loot every run. Well, that was because everything was so inflated last wipe because of Bitcoin and the high price of Bitcoin. There was more money in circulation and just made everything more expensive. But the last time they did any kind of nerf loot changes was over 7 months ago, when they reduced it wholesale across the board, across all maps, but really reduced it on labs and reserve. And that happened like in February, I think. Might have been January, but it was February, I'm pretty sure. But the reason everything is so much cheaper right now, guys, is there's a couple of reasons to it. Again, the Bitcoin brings the price of everything down. And two, there's not as many people playing the game. There's not people buying shit, which makes stuff cheaper. Also, the level 20 flea market spread everybody out. So instead of having this huge group of players that within the first couple of days had the flea market and could buy everything they needed, which sends all the prices through the roof, that's been spread out over, and we've seen this effect with aces. We've seen this effect with keys, OFZ shells, LEDXs. All of these things that usually have this crazy huge spike never got it because everything was spread out so much. So just a thing here for those people that keep talking about it. The loot has not been nerfed recently. It was nerfed a long time ago, but it's RNG, guys. It is part of the game. That's pretty much the wrap up of the news I have for the day. Unless anybody there, any guys in chat have anything you've seen that I've missed. I don't think there is. We'll get back to Tarkov's screen because the next thing we're going to talk about is Tarkov Economy. I guess to start off, we'll kind of do a little bit of a loot guide, right? We'll do a little bit of a loot guide. And for the loot guide, it's pretty straightforward. I love using Tarkov Market for this. Not because the information is 100% solid, but because it's really easy to display it and show it to you guys. So they have this, he has this new thing on here, items interactive, and he does like tiered loot, right? The problem with this is based off of like, I think it's based off a 7-day average. Where does he put it at? I can't see where he actually sorts this. But one thing I don't like about this is it puts pile of meds. Excuse me. And wires, CPUs, herring in the same category, and they definitely are not. And then it keeps down here certain items that are worth far more, like crackers. These crackers and pile of meds, in my opinion, are worth the same level quality of loot at the end of the day. So we'll talk about why and kind of my barter list here. So here is the list of items sorted by value per slot, and I'm just going to blow past. You got all your high tier stuff, right? All the stuff you're obviously going to keep. You're always going to keep the shit you find. And we're going to get into some of the questionable things that I think people overlook that they shouldn't be. Starting off with G-phones. Now, I don't think people are overlooking G-phones. I think they're picking them up. But what you need to remember is that you should be selling these on the market because they can go for as high as, I think, 16 or 17K. Yeah, see, we're seeing them at 17K here. And they sell to the vendor for 11. And for every wipe up until now, that's pretty much been what you do. You know, we can go back and look at a year, and you can see that there was this whole wipe here where you just sold them to the vendor. They never got any more expensive because there was no reason to. But now with some of the other crafts and things, the changes they've made them more valuable along with some of the barters. Because like, let me see, usually it'll show you down at the bottom here, but it's not doing it. Next up on items I think people overlook, things like Poxeram, right? These things are fantastic. I just sell them. I don't sell them on the market. I just sell them right to therapists. But they're a great little 12,000 rubles item. They're hard to see. They're really, really small in the game world, but they're definitely worth loot. And working LCDs, I would never keep these before. And I even find myself throwing these things out and going, oh wait, no. With the way the new loot is, these things are actually worth quite a bit of money. So again, you know, you've got 11,800 on a slot for working LCDs. So they are great to pick up and keep and not throw out. Pile of meds and energy saving lamps. I don't know if you guys have seen, but Pile of meds has gone through the roof in the last week, really. We can go look at the chart here. In the last week, Pile of meds has had a pretty good spike from where it was. You know, we were pushing 10K, and then I've seen Pile of meds go into 14K for a little while, for an hour or two. The last couple of nights, it'll get into 14K and sell. And you can usually tell when you go to look at items. Like, I'll just pull up some Pile of meds here real quick inside the game. The best way I find to figure out what the top prices is selling is you just go through the flea market till you find where the clock is running out on stuff, right? So right in here, this 14.3, 14.2, this was the last place they spiked because that's where you see the clock running out, especially on some of these ones like this, right? Like this guy's only got one. He just listed this for 14,000, but 14,000 is kind of the top of Pile of meds is what it looks like right now to me. Let me get back here to this. Come on now. Where are you? There we go. Energy saving lamps. Now these guys are kind of weird. They're good to keep because you can trade 4 of them all the time for backpacks and stuff. But as you can see, they're pretty volatile. They go up and down a lot. You'll see them at 8K, 7K, 9K. And I think this is why a lot of people won't keep them, is because they look at the market and they see them selling for 8K. And they're like, well, fuck that. I don't want 8K, right? But if you're patient with them and you list them in stacks, which is what I always do. You always list in stacks. You can sell these things for, like right here, you see 17, 18K. We'll go do the same thing. We'll go look at energy saving lamps in the flea market and see where they're peaked out at. And you're seeing here probably 15, 16K, see 18K. You're able to sell energy saving lamps, and that's a product of them having lots of barters. We can do a required search here and turn barters on, and you have your grenades. I don't know how much they get burned up here, but they might. But as well as your camelback. This is probably your tri-zip backpack is probably the most common use for this, because these things sell for 60, 70, 80K, and you only get 3 of them at 40K, and then you can barter, and you can barter before you can buy them. So that's a big part of why you see ES lamps doing what they do. And then rechargeable batteries. Some of us remember the days when you could trade these they were worth essentially 20K, because you could trade them for a 8R and then just sell the 8R and make money. They got rid of that barter, unfortunately. But rechargeable batteries are still worth 10K to Therapist all day long. I'll pick these things up. They're a quick little sell. They're easy to deal with, and you can sell them. You can put them in your secure container, and it's a free 10K. 3 of these are usually worth more than a serve kit, right? And I say that because I have a serve kit in my bag usually. And I almost always buy these for less than 30K. We'll see what they're selling at now. So you're right around 30K, right? So I'll almost always replace these with 10 slot items. So if I find 3 rechargeable batteries, boom, they are gone. Now, what else we got to talk about here? Let me jump over real quick. Some of the other big items, these are just barter items, right, that you can look at. But some things that I think a lot of people sleep on when they're looting is ammo. And some of the ammos out there that are worth an absolute absurd amount of rubles. Now, this is another problem with Tarkov Market, right? He just grabs things. And for whatever reason, somebody listed FMJ for 25,000. It didn't sell, but it affects the market, right? So you got to sort through this sometimes and look for the good prices. And obviously the big ammo is obviously, right, M995 you're going to keep. But some of the ammos that a lot of people will overlook is especially some of the P90 ammos that are worth quite a lot. PBM is one of my favorite ammos to keep, because, let's see if we can find it here. It usually sells for about 400. There's PMM. Where's PBM at? I'll just type it in. PBM. Now, you find this in boxes of 16 around the world, and it says its average is 400, right? But you can almost always sell these things for over 500 rubles a round, and sometimes you can even get 600 or 700. So when I find PBM ammo, and it just says it's a little box, you hover it over it, it says PBM ammo. And if you get PBM ammo and you get out a raid with even 30 rounds, 32 rounds of it, because you get 2 16s, that's worth its single slot. So PBMs and ammo I love to find. I have for many wipes. It always sells for really well. And ammo, I think, is probably one of the best loots in the game, especially if you can find ammo boxes and find some of the higher tier ammos in them. I mean, even BT, right? Some people won't keep BT, but let's grab the TI-84 graphing calculator. And let's say you're selling BT it should sell for about 600 usually, because I think that's what it sells to the trader for, is around 630. So we'll say 600. Because that's kind of where these peaks are at on here. If you have 30 rounds at 600 rubles, that's 18K. So one mag of BT is worth all of that money. So if you're getting out a raid with a bunch of BT because you killed Rashala's guard or a raider or somebody else who's got BT in their gun, it's a ton of money. The ammo is definitely worth the wait. 36 AP everybody knows about, but even rounds like M80, your cutoff point basically for a stack ammo is between 200 and 300 rubles a round. Because that 200 and 300 ruble around ammo gets you to that same spot that it's worth the same as a lot of your other loot you're taking out a raid. And I just think that's something a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to, is how much ammo can be worth. Magazines. And I bring this up because I see people do it all the damn time. I was looking at P90s yesterday, and we'll go find the P90 mag. Here it is. P90 mag's worth 20K, 25K. And you'll see people sell found and raid P90s on the flea market with ammo in them, which is probably SS190, and they'll sell that and not take the mag out. And they'll sell it for the same price as an empty P90. So you need to always take your mags out of your guns and check when you get these things, either from a scav case, you find them in a box, you find them off of raiders. Some of these mags are worth a ton of money, sometimes more than the gun itself. You know, a MP7 mag is worth twice what the MP7 is. And then I think we get into weapon parts. So for weapon parts, that's weapons, not weapon parts. Weapon parts. These are hard to keep in mind, right? Their weapon parts are so weird. It's mostly the mechanic tasks, right? That's the big thing. Anything that affects a mechanic task, but also anything that is a meta item that is gate kept behind a high level trader. So all of these top ones are pretty much, but things like, you'll see things like this P90 charging handle, right? Nobody's paying 60,000 for a P90 charging handle. This is just people listing shit, and it's the only place you can buy it. Nobody ever buys them. But things like the RK1 foregrip, or especially these the JMac muzzle brakes, RK1s, all of these things are fantastic. The barrels. Now, the barrels can be kind of tricky because some barrels are worth a ton, some barrels are worthless. The TX15 is a good example of a rifle. And that TX15 itself is only worth like 70K. Like, let's go look. Let's see what a TX15 is. A full TX15 is selling for. And this is the part that's so funny about this. Let's see if this shows up right. Is people are selling this TX15 for 66,000 right here, right? This thing, he took some of the parts off, but what he didn't do is he didn't go look at the damn barrel. The barrel itself is worth 30K. So make sure you're always checking parts on your guns you found in raid, because sometimes the parts are worth a ton of money. I guess the last thing we have to go through then is the hideout. We'll do some hideout talk for you guys here real quick. Top crafts in each station. Now, these are the simple crafts, right? These are the ones that the averages pay out. You can do much better than these on some of the other crafts, especially if you buy your components correctly. But here are your top crafts right now. Gunpowder, green gunpowder. And this one deserves double mention because of how easy it is. You just buy your components from the traders. You craft, you sell. Probably the easiest craft in the game, in my opinion. And as you can see, one of the most consistently profitable. Bleach is doing good right now, but you can really, really make a lot of money with bleach. If you snipe your components, if you use stuff found in raid, and you really try to spike your bleach. So we've seen it calm down here, because this is what happens when you get crazy spikes like this, guys, when not a lot of people are doing the craft. That's what causes it. And then when you see it flatten out like this, that means there's a lot more volume. There's a lot more people doing the craft. And you can see it in the pricing here, where you have, you know, how many, 100 bleaches that are only 500 rubles apart in price. You know, that's a lot of people just trying to skim out that sliver of a profit. And when crafts get like this, I usually get away from those. I usually I'm like, okay, this craft is saturated. It's time to go do something else. So that's bleach for you. You got your super water. Pile of meds right now is the best thing to make money. The key here is to try to get your augmentin cheap. You know, if you see it selling for 20 or 19K, buy up everything you can find and store it and make it, because you're eventually going to make your pile of meds and you're going to eventually make money. Thumb drives. Still the most popular thing to make. Simply because you can take 3 of them and turn them into 195K to a therapist, no matter what. It doesn't matter what you sell them for. So they're actually selling for less than what you can get out of them each time you do that deal. But they're good for raising your flea market fee if you want. You can't right now. You can't really make money in the nutrition unit. We'll go look at it specifically here, and I'll talk about what's going on. A couple of things. One, sugar and chocolate have destroy basically whatever's left for any items you can make profit on. That being said, if you get your sugar cheap, if you get like something non-found in raid, things like that, this is a great place to use it, because it's worth so much more this way, to do it like this. Or if you happen to get a cheap sugar for whatever reason, same thing with your chocolates, you can turn them into craftable items. And the best things to do with chocolate, obviously, is to make slickers. Your best thing to do with sugar is to make hot rods. This is going to be your spot where you're going to do the best as far as crafting with those particular components, if you don't have them found in raid. You can get away with making condensed milk. Basically, you'll take your sugar and turn it into about 28K. It makes your sugar worth about 28K, because you got to buy the milk and then you sell the condensed milks back and yada, 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 yada. But that's kind of the sad place of the nutrition unit. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to make money with it. And same thing with the boost generator right now. You've got to be getting your sugar for less than 60K to be making money with the boost generator. Now, do I think moonshine's going to get any more expensive? It's hard to say. I think we're at peak moonshine right now. We may see it bump up again. You go back and you look at a year at the old ones, and you see moonshine up here at like, what is this, 300K, and we had this huge run up here in this white. But this is all because of Bitcoin, guys. Bitcoin caused all of this. Because you can see when they nuked Bitcoin, you see how much cheaper this got. So we're 210 right here. We may see a spike of 220, maybe 230, but I think 210 to 215 is going to be our peak moonshine. So don't plan on getting any more out of it than that when you're coming to selling moonshine and that kind of stuff with it. It can really hurt you. Now at the workbench, I want to talk a little bit more about this because there's more opportunity here in the workbench. Green gunpowder, of course, but cords. If you're getting your power cords for less than 15K, you're making really good money. Even selling at 8,000. Let's say you're getting these things for 11,000 and you're selling for 8,000, you're still making 18K. This is still a top craft. So even though wires is super saturated, all you got to do is shop for power cords, which let's go look right now and see if there are any super cheap, just so you guys can see. So right now they're 15K, but if you sit here and you just watch, eventually you're going to see, look, there's 12K right there. I didn't get it, but there's 12.5. You're beating the price with those. And that is the key to crafting, guys. That is the key to making money crafting is where are we at here? Here we go. Is buying your components the cheapest. That is the biggest thing you can do to make money is buy those components cheap. Same thing with like flat screwdrivers and DVD drives on circuit boards. You can do really well there. PSUs used to be, but they're kind of getting into a bad spot. One thing to keep in mind is that capacitors get expensive every night. These things push 12, 13K almost every evening. So if you're picking up capacitors, make sure you hang on to those and sell them in big stacks at the end of the day because they will do pretty well for you. You're able to sell them for like 12K. VOGs are another one that you can make an absolute fistful of dollars with. If you look at VOG 25 prices, and we're getting into the weekend here, which is something worth looking at, you will absolutely make a ton of money over the weekend with VOGs because these things push 20,000. It doesn't show, but they will push 20,000 over the weekend. And if you're buying your fuses for less than 10K, you see these for less than 10K or less all the time. And then let's just keep your grenades right where they're at, and you're selling your VOGs for 20,000. This is now the top craft in the workbench. So again, the key to making money with crafting is buying your components. So what you can do is you come in here to your wish list on your flea market, and you just list items you're going to look at, and you just go through them, and you get a feel for what they should be priced at. And when you see them cheap, make sure you come in here and turn barters off though. On your wish list because they'll show up, and you just flip through and you look for cheap components. Spend a little bit of time, you buy up the ones you want to do, and you go from there. And that is how you really make money crafting. That is the key to it. So that's that. I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope you like this. We'll kind of tweak on it and we'll kind of rub on it as we go forward here over the next couple of days. I'd like to do this every day. Real quickly, we'll go through and talk about what's good, what's not, what's news, what the economy is doing. I think one of the interesting things we're going to see going forward is sugar. Where's sugar at? Where's all my sugar at? 60, 65K has been sugar's kind of going rate. Now we're starting to see 70. I bet we see 75, 80, maybe even 90,000 sugar. We'll see. That's pushing it. And it really depends on if moonshine can go up or not. And we'll go there.